Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as the Marauders of Dog Down hold on to the river objective for 22 minutes straight. KOTT News caught up with Dog Down leadership after the fight to go over the outcome.
Sure, you had to fall back onto the riverside with about 21 minutes left, but from there it was all yours. At about 12 minutes left, they had a 99% push, and maybe if they'd have taken it, you would have gotten in the fort and it would have gone a different way. But they did not. You held at 99%, and that was all she wrote. Would you care to take us through that fight?
Yeah, so I was leading Group 9 Kill Squad, and I just went ahead and made the executive, called all the bows onto the point. We just soldiered up on there, perfectly iframing all abilities. We got a few kills, and, you know, that's all she wrote. We got right back out to Oppo after taking the point back down, straight back to fragging.
Yeah, indeed, that was all she wrote. And what about you, Creatine? Were you seeing anything different out there tonight?
Well, I'll be honest, my role this one was not as fun as normally. I had to basically contest all of their great swords. So my war sucked. It was mostly they pushed us into last point, and we just held last point really well. I think we calmed their kill squad, trying to wrap into Oppo really well. Ultimately, I think we just had a lot of bruisers specifically show up. Their healers were not free at all, I don't think. We were handling our road pretty well, so I think just all in all, we showed up and we were ready. Indeed.
Was there anybody out there who stood out tonight individually?
Yeah, so we had a bruiser, Stallion. Stallion went like 17-0 as a bruiser. That's a pretty crazy stat line in a war like that, and a very competitive, like really good skill, a lot of skill on both sides. That's pretty abnormal. So that's a pretty major performance. I know we had a lot of teams dedicated to hitting healers, a lot of bruisers with with broom handles, with watermelons duct taped to the ends. So they were doing really well. I think just overall a good performance by everyone.
Excellent. Well, There's a lot of familiar names on the other side of the field tonight. Does that inspire you to possibly go out there and try anything else? This is for you, sir.
You know, we are a fairly newer company over here. We've just been tightening everything up. I think that we're gonna sit back, VOD review, learn from it, see what went right this war, and improve. And then on to bigger and better things.
Well, is there anything else that you might want to say to the citizens of Eternum after this victory?
I hear Everfall's a nice home.
Okay.
Okay, well, you know, he's rogue, right? Like I think he misspoke there, personally. That's just what I think. But, I mean, I think what he meant to say was that we really appreciate competitive wars. They did not overly murk, and they very well could have, and that war could have gone very differently. So thank you to them for not slotting 25 S+ big hitters, right? Thanks for leaving a few. And competitive wars are what we're looking for. However, like we had a couple people outside of the war trying to do some scummy stuff to us beforehand, trying to invite us to an Amrine dungeon, trying to pull people out of the war. That's not what we like to see. It worked. It got a couple of them. L ratio, but yeah, GG's, good wars.
Corruption breaches in 2 regions last night, causing setbacks in hamlet infrastructure. Investigations continue into the link between these empowered corrupted forces and the flow of the spice. The all-volunteer forces of the Invasion Response Squad, able to fend off half of the corrupted assaults last night, are beginning to respond to the increased difficulties before them as they prepare for tonight's expected raid on the Western Monarch's Bluff. 2 lineup submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it is cardboard. With special thanks to the Craft Services crew. If you'd like to support KOTT News, Patreon is currently the best way. First up, the Covenant converts of Farmed Off Fresh assault the vault of JDB's kitchen, attempting to steal away the island's financial capital of Windsward. Farmed Off Fresh decide they have to secure additional funding if they're going to continue advancing on the island. So they've staked out the bank and prepare to bake their heist. But the security around the fort is unlike any other they have experienced before, as the syndicate powerhouse of JDB's kitchen consolidate their forces into a single defensive effort. Then, The syndicate members of Whirl's former company assail the Covenant converts of Hideout for control of the always contentious Restless Shore. The back and forth between these two companies beginning to look like a legitimate rivalry as the anarchy of the archipelago anews once more. Hideout forces able to rapidly deploy their troops along their controlled trade routes stand ready atop the hill on the distant eastern shore. We'll have any late-breaking outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.